Ever wondered what life was like in the world's most magnificent city 1,000 years ago? Forget what you see in the news today. Let's travel back in time, not to Rome or Athens, but to a city that was the beating heart of civilization. Medieval Baghdad, the city of peace. In the 8th century, a visionary leader, the Caliph Omar, decided to build a new capital on the banks of the Tigris River. But this wasn't just any city. He gathered the best engineers, surveyors, and astrologers from across the empire. They chose a spot with a perfect climate and strategic location. And on a date deemed auspicious by the stars, the first brick was laid. What they built was an architectural marvel. Imagine a perfectly round city, over 1.5 miles in diameter, protected by 3 concentric walls and a deep moat. It was so perfectly circular that it earned the nickname the Round City. At its very heart stood the Caliph's Palace, the Golden Gate Palace, and the magnificent Grand Mosque. 4 massive gates, named after the cities they faced, Kufa, Busra, Khorasan, and Damascus, opened up to the rest of the world. It was a symbol of unity, order, and the Caliphate's central place in the cosmos. As the Abbasid Caliphate flourished, Baghdad exploded in size and population. The Round City became the exclusive domain of the court and the army, while vibrant, sprawling suburbs grew along the Tigris. The city became a magnet for the brightest minds from every corner of the known world: Persians, Arabs, Christians, Jews, Indians, and even scholars from as far as China. It was a true melting pot of cultures, ideas, and faiths, all living and working together. Why did they all come to Baghdad? Because Baghdad wasn't just a political capital, it was the world's intellectual capital. This was the dawn of the Islamic Golden Age. And at its epicenter was an institution that would change the world: the House of Wisdom, or Beit al. Initially a private library for the Caliph Harun al-Rashid, very same caliph from the 1001 Nights, Talis' son Al-Mun transformed it into a public academy unlike anything seen before. The House of Wisdom wasn't just a library. It was a research center, a translation institute, and a university, all rolled into one. The caliphs actively sponsored a massive translation movement. Scholars were sent far and wide to collect manuscripts from Greece, India, Persia, and Syria. It's said the translators were paid their weight in gold for every book they translated into Arabic. Think about that for a moment. They weren't just copying texts. They were absorbing, critiquing, and building upon the knowledge of ancient civilizations. The works of Aristotle, Plato, Euclid, Ptolemy, and Galen were not only saved from being lost to history, but were given new life. Without the scholars of Baghdad, much of classical Greek philosophy and science might have vanished forever. This intellectual ferment led to incredible breakthroughs. In the observatories of Baghdad, astronomers refined Ptolemy's models of the cosmos, accurately measured the circumference of the Earth, and gave us the names of stars we still use today, like Aldebaran and Betel. In mathematics, the scholar Al-Khwarizmi, working in the House of Wisdom, synthesized Indian and Greek mathematical traditions. He introduced the Hindu-Arabic numerals, the very numbers 0 through 9 that we use every day. More importantly, he developed a new system of solving equations, which he called algebra. Yes, that's where we get the word algebra. His work revolutionized mathematics and laid the foundation for modern science. The hospitals of Baghdad were equally revolutionary. They were not dark places for the dying, but structured institutions for healing and learning. They had separate wards for different diseases, outpatient clinics, and even psychiatric wards. Physicians like Arazi wrote comprehensive medical encyclopedias that were used as standard textbooks in Europe for centuries. They performed complex surgeries, understood the importance of hygiene, and based their practice on observation and clinical trials, a forerunner to modern evidence-based medicine. And what was life like on the streets? Imagine bustling souk or markets filled with exotic goods from around the globe, spices from India, silk from China, ivory from Africa, and furs from Russia. The air would be filled with the aroma of spices, perfumes, and street food. Storytellers would captivate crowds with tales of adventure and romance, while poets competed in eloquent contests in the city's gardens and courtyards. Paper, a technology learned from Chinese prisoners of war, made books cheap and accessible, leading to a flourishing of public and private libraries. Literacy was widespread. But all golden ages must come to an end. By the 10th and 11th centuries, internal political strife began to weaken the kingdom. The empire fractured and Baghdad's power began to wane. The final, devastating blow came in 1258. A massive Mongol army, led by Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, laid siege to the city. After a short but brutal siege, the city fell. What followed was one of the most catastrophic events in history. Palaces, mosques, hospitals, and libraries were burned to the ground. The House of Wisdom, the repository of centuries of knowledge, was utterly destroyed. It's said the Tigris River ran black with the ink of countless books thrown into its waters, and then red with the blood of the scholars who were killed. The sack of Baghdad in 1258 is widely considered the end of the Islamic Golden Age. The city that had been the light of the world was extinguished. It would never fully recover its former glory. So, when we think of Baghdad, let's remember its true legacy. It's not just a city of conflict, but a city that, for 500 years, was the center of the world. It was a beacon of learning, tolerance, and innovation. The scholars of Baghdad didn't just preserve knowledge. They created it, expanded it, and passed it on. The scientific and philosophical foundations they laid directly fueled the European Renaissance centuries later. The story of medieval Baghdad is a powerful reminder that greatness can rise in any part of the world, and a somber lesson about how fragile civilization can be. It's a testament to the power of curiosity, open-mindedness, and the human thirst for knowledge. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into history. Let me know in the comments what other historical cities you'd like to visit. Until next time, stay curious.